tremendous amount of empathy to their work, combined with a sharp legal acumen. I'm confident in their ability to successfully prosecute these cases. As you were told, the grand jury returned indictments on 3 counts of murder in the 2nd degree and 3 counts of abuse of corpse in the 2nd degree. As with the majority of homicides, these cases are complex, and it has required a significant investigation involving many different law enforcement agencies. I'm grateful to those agencies for their collaboration and their help in getting us to the point where we were confident in presenting these cases to the grand jury. There's still more work to be done. Investigations are ongoing. And with that, I'm going to let the sheriff and then the chief speak to that. Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, D.A. Schmidt. I'm Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell. Today's indictment of Jesse Calhoun marks a significant step toward justice for 3 women, Charity Lynn Perry, Bridget Webster, and Joanna Speaks, their families, and our community. We recognize that until today, there have been many questions and that their deaths have caused fear and anxiety across our area and for the families who have been waiting for answers. We want our community to know that all of us in public safety have been working tirelessly to achieve this result, and that public safety, your safety, was and continues to be our highest priority. We do greatly appreciate the public's patience to reach this point today. And to get to this point, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office committed an extraordinary amount of resources. We assigned Sheriff's Office detectives to focus on these investigations. These detectives worked alongside the District Attorney's Office, the Portland Police Bureau, and many other law enforcement agencies to ensure the cases are thorough and complete. Understand that this work does not stop here. We remain committed to see these cases through to the end and holding accountable Jesse Calhoun to the fullest extent possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Good afternoon. I want to echo some of the same comments we've already heard, specifically to the families and for your loss. It's a tremendous responsibility that we have in the area of public safety to constantly be advocating for the sanctity of life in all that we do. And today is a gratifying day to acknowledge these indictments, but it's also a very somber day. A day to remember the lives lost and the sacrifice that these families are experiencing in that loss. And although we cannot bring them back, we will do our very best to find justice and resolution in this process on your behalf. I do want to emphasize and recognize, as already mentioned, the extensive collaboration that went into this investigation. The Portland Police Bureau's partnership with agencies behind me, as well as several in the Tri-County area, is ongoing, but has been extensive. And we've been engaged from the very beginning, taking strong investigative steps, marshaling all the resources that we have to bear to come to successful conclusion, or at least a successful point in time as we are right now, certainly not a conclusion. And we're 100% committed to continuing this work around this case and any other information that might become available. So just know that we're not done, and we are very much aware of the impact this has had on our community as a whole. And our desire here today is to message to those, as the sheriff said so well, that we are engaged, we take this responsibility seriously, and we intend to continue our commitment to provide the highest level of safety to the community. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Chief, thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, D.A. Schmidt. We do have some time for some Q&A. Again, the investigations are ongoing. The prosecution is still to come. We will not share information that jeopardizes any of them. That would be incredibly harmful. With that, please state your name and who you'd like to ask a question to. Connor, we'll start with you.
Connor Griffey with Fox 12. I know there are 2 other women who were throughout the year. They were named on the indictment. Are those cases still under investigation at this time? To anyone that can answer that question.
Yes, there are continuing to be investigations ongoing. So what the grand jury has returned is the evidence that we presented on those cases, and other cases continue to be investigated.
So I think there were 3 other women, Kristen Smith, Ashley Rial, and an unidentified woman. Are all 3 of them still being investigated in connection with Jesse Calhoun?
I'll let my senior deputy talk about that.
Hi, good morning. We are still very much investigating the deaths of Kristen Smith and Ashley Rial with our partners here, as well as the Clackamas County DA's office and other investigators. The 6th woman we have determined was not a homicidal death, and so the 6th woman is not at this point being investigated further.
And then the last time there was an update on this case, Joanna Speaks was not being linked with Calhoun. I know that you can't reveal too many details of this investigation, but can you share anything about why she was added to the people who were linked with this person?
Evidence presented to the grand jury and evidence obtained by the investigators led us to that link and resulted in the indictment. So at this point, we do feel confident moving forward with charges involving Ms. Speaks and Mr. Calhoun and his involvement in her death.
Can you speak to at all what connected the woman to Mr. Calhoun, even generally without compromising the case?
Unfortunately, given the nature of the ongoing investigation, I can't answer that question at this time.
And do you anticipate any federal charges? I know one of the women, I think it was Ms. Speaks, whose body was found in Washington State. Do you expect any federal, like, kidnapping charges?
I'm also not able to speak to that at this time.
Ariel Salva, Coin 6. Did the jury consider any charges beyond murder and abuse of a corpse? And could there be more charges in the future?
The grand jury indicted on all of the charges that they considered at the time. Additional charges could move forward if additional evidence were presented to them.
Either for you or D.A. Schmidt, could you please address the timing of this indictment in light of the fact that it comes literally days before an election, also weeks before Calhoun was due to be released?
Thank you. The timing of the grand jury convening was set last year. The arrest of Mr. Calhoun was not directly related to these charges, and so we knew, because he had been arrested, we knew that his release date would be coming in early June. We knew that we would need to move forward with an indictment by that time. The date of the specific indictment was based on the date that we concluded testimony. The grand jury voted yesterday. We met with the families and informed them of the decision, and then immediately released that here. From our perspective, the election had nothing to do with why we chose to do it at the time we did, or the speed at which the investigation went forward. The collection and development of evidence is what controlled that completely. I think all of our investigative partners would agree and would confirm that we had discussed a mid-May grand jury proceeding well before the election politics were raised as it related to this case.
Was there any concern that he would potentially be released prior to an indictment?
I'm not sure.
Was there any concern that he might be released from Department of Corrections prior to this indictment?
We knew what his release date was, and so we knew the date that we had to move forward. Of course, we had to have a certain amount of evidence in order to be able to present that to the grand jury to ensure that we were able to charge him prior to that date. That the investigation into all of these cases is still very much ongoing.
Just to be clear, once his sentence with DOC is finished, where does he go?
Pardon?
Where does he go once his DOC sentence is?
We anticipate he'll be transported back to Multnomah County.
So he's going to finish out the rest of his time in state, DOC, and then come back to Multnomah County?
That I can't answer.
Do you expect to prosecute these cases together as one?
The grand jury returned a single indictment, so at this point, Mr. Calhoun will be charged on one charging document.
Couple more questions if you have them.
Can you speak to Calhoun's relationship with these women, how he knew them, any link and how they knew each other?
Due to the nature of the ongoing investigation, unfortunately, I can't provide that information at this time.
In looking at the charge of murder in the second degree, can you provide any explanation as far as what factors may have come into play in determining murder in the second degree versus murder in the first degree, those who don't have a general understanding of how the statute's written?
Sure, there are very specific requirements in order to get to an indictment of murder in the first degree, factual things that we have to be able to prove. The evidence that was presented to the grand jury at this point supports a murder in the second degree charge. Were we able to indict on murder in the first degree, we would have sought that. At this point, the investigations are ongoing. If something changes, that's a possibility, but we have to go with what the law says, and the grand jury has to vote on what the actual elements of the charge are.
When is the arraignment set?
We don't have a date yet.
Are there any other people being investigated as a person of interest in this case?
That I can't answer at this time.
Can you say when you first got the inkling that he may have been responsible for one of the homicides or more?
That I also can't answer at this time.
That's good, Melissa. Thank you. That's Melissa Marrero, Senior Deputy DA. That's MELISSAMARRERO. Lastly, again, anyone with information about Jesse Calhoun is urged to reach out to our detectives. They are mentioned in the release that went out this morning from the Multnomah County DA's office. With that, I thank you for attending. Appreciate it.
I think one of the family members wanted to speak.
Oh, she did. Please come forward.
And this is Diana Allen and Melissa Smith.
Okay.
Hello. There's a few things that I wanted to say, and one of the first ones was that it's been very, very frustrating for us families not to have answers, but I've also had to put back in my mind that these people they cared more about justice for charity than they did for my feelings. I have to have a level of respect for that. I do. Second, a lot of the public has felt that nothing has been happening this whole time. And I want to tell you that these detectives have worked so hard, and they have made sure that they knew that we were working. Even though they wouldn't give me the answers, I knew they had answers because they wouldn't give them to me. And then third is just because not all of these girls and I won't add that, but just because not all of these girls their charges have been brought up yet for the other families does not mean that we aren't still standing beside them. We're still together the whole way, always.
We've done a lot of investigating all year. Diana, Ariel, and I, my family, fighting, trying to help our wonderful detectives, are they? With this case, and since it's still an active investigation for my daughter Kristen Smith and Ashley Riel, that we just keep going. We keep waiting, we keep praying, and stay hopeful, and we know we've got the best of the best with Melissa and our homicide team, so
We got this.
we stay hopeful that we soon can get justice for them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Sorry, thank you.